Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to be here today to celebrate the life of Kalchuri, Meherabad's Bhauji, and I'm glad to see so many people have joined today. We're going to have a biographic description of his life, which is always amazing to me. And fortunately, we have Karen Talbot here, who does such a fabulous job. Everybody knows. And then there'll be like a little slideshow with just some photos of Ball so that we can kind of, bring his presence closer. And of course, it's all in Baba's love, and we're grateful. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen. Jai Baba, Karen.
Jai Baba, everyone. Jai Baba, Ruthie. I'm delighted to be here. So many memories of Bao, and so lovely to see so many of you that shared these memories. So I am just going to preface this by saying that I'm actually working on these bios. So if anybody feels anything is incorrect, wants to add anything, please. That's what I'm looking for right now. Okay, so Bauji's name was at birth Veer Singh Kalchuri. Baba gave him the name Bhau, which means brother, and Veer Singh means victorious lion. And Baba's sign for Bhau was lion. He was married to Rama. His two children were Sheela and Mehernath. And we'll put some of these details in as I go along. Bhau was born on January 13th, 1927. Today is his birthday. He was one of 8 children born to a well-to-do Rajput family in Katani in the Balgat district of Madhya Pradesh. He was quite bright and excelled in all his studies at Nagpur University, completing master's degrees in public administration, law, and chemistry. However, before he could realize his career plans, Bao unexpectedly turned to spiritual interests following a visit to the tomb of Tajuddin Baba in Nagpur. So during Meher Baba's stay in, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Soner in December 1951, Veer Singh Kalchuri, while studying at Nagpur College, attended a darshan of Baba's. Without looking at Bao, Baba handed him a banana as prasad. Bao then ate the banana skin and all. In January 1953, Bao attended another one of Meher Baba's darshans. Again, Baba gave him a banana, which again he ate skin and all. Bao requested a meeting with Baba, and he went to great lengths to get that meeting. On January 4th, which was a Sunday, he read a report in the Nagpur Times of programs being held in a nearby temple. Fortunately, Baba gave darshan that morning. As before, Bao made inquiries on how to have an interview with him. And he was able to get that interview at that time. Baba told Bao to finish his exams and then come to him. His wife, Rama, didn't interfere. Rama at the time was 20 years old, and Sheela was born and a baby. Bao passed his college master's exams and came to see Baba. Baba asked Bao, "Are you firm in your resolve to stay with me?" Bao replied, "I am quite firm. That is why I have come." Baba seemed extremely pleased. In the darshan programs, there were innumerable fishes, but only one was caught. That was Bao. Baba asked Bao if he would do what he asked willingly. Bao said yes. And so eventually he did come, I believe, March 9th, 1953, to Dehradun and then became a Mandali member. The first task that Baba asked of him was to, as a newcomer, the youngest of all the Mandali at 27, while some of the older members had been with Baba since the 1920s, to go to each room and ask each Mandali to keep quiet. And so he went to every room and hesitatingly and nervously told each man to keep silence after 9 o'clock. All the men thought it was a joke and enjoyed it, though they didn't know it was Baba's order. But when he came to Kaikobad's room, Bhau saw that Kaikobad was silently praying. Bhau opened the door and shouted, "You fool, keep silence after 9 o'clock." Kaikobad turned to Bhau with a mingled look of surprise and anger. But his duty being over, Bhau hurriedly slipped away. The next day, Kaikobad told Vishnu, "This Bhau is an absolutely rude chap. Last night, when I was praying in my room, he quietly opened my door, came in and said, 'You fool, keep silence after 9 o'clock.' I was, of course, already silent. He said the same thing to me," said Vishnu. "He is new, and we should forget about it." But Kaikobad said, "He has a master's degree, but still he is a fool, and he has no manners." The second night, also Bhau repeated Baba's order, again disturbing Kaikobad in his prayers. What could Bhau do? This was Baba's order, and he had to do it. Kaikobad, though, this time complained to Baba, who withdrew the order. 4 days after Bhau's arrival in Dehradun, a must who Baba had contacted walked more than 62 miles to Dehradun. Seeing him on the road, Elcha informed Baba. He was about a mile away and Baba sent a car to bring him. When he was brought, Baba ordered Bhau, "Serve this must, attend to his wants, look after him well." Bhau had never seen a must before. He wasn't sure what Baba saw in him. All Bhau could see was a completely naked man with thick matted hair covered from head to foot with years of dirt from never washing. Bhau had a very difficult time caring for him. This must told Bhau that he would pass his college exams. The next day, a telegram arrived that Bhau had passed his exams. Another night, Bhau was sitting by the must when he said, "You will have a son." Bhau's wife, Rama, was still in Nagpur and pregnant. 4 months later, Bhau received a telegram that a son was born to him. At first, Bhau thought the must to be insane, but when the must spoke about the greatness of Baba, his eyes were opened. After these incidents, Bhau realized the must was not a madman.
Karen, can you tilt your screen a little bit so we see more of your
Oh,
chin?
okay. Is that better? All right. How am I doing for time? Okay. As instructed by Baba, everyone had to keep awake the whole night of Thursday, August 20th. Baba told Bhau, "Since you all have to stay awake, please perform a play." On short notice, Bhau wrote a play based on the Indian story of a devotee of the goddess Durga. All the men did justice to their roles, but Ilcha and Alaba were the source of the greatest merriment. Alaba's entry on stage as the executioner was off cue, his sword swinging ferociously at the wrong time. Elcha forgot his lines. Baba was in fits of laughter. He praised Elcha, saying he enjoyed his part the most. On October 22nd, Baba said to Bhau, "I am born today." No one understood the meaning of Baba's statement until that evening when a telegram was received from Nagpur that Bhau's wife Rama had given birth to a son. Baba himself named the boy Mehernath, Meher's Prince, Lord of Mercy. How Bhau became fool number 9. Baba had Kumar make the mandali and Hanipur workers stand in a row outside in an open space. Baba came out of the Dharmashala and instructed those standing in line to count off as follows: "I am fool number 1, I am fool number 2. At the end, Baba joked, "Last night I had to sleep with 80 fools, so you can imagine my condition." As the years unfolded in future correspondence, those who had stood in line that day would sign their letters, fool number 1 or fool, no, whatever the number was, and Bhau remained fool number 9. I'm going to jump ahead to the accident in Sitara. Bhau was the night watchman at the time and also wrote letters for Baba. At the 1956 accident at Uttara, Bhau sent for the civil surgeon. Bhau and Alaba took Erich and Pendu to the civil hospital by ambulance. Baba was also taken there. Bhau and Alaba attended Erich and Pendu day and night in the hospital. The entire staff was amazed with their heartfelt expression of love and devotion to Baba and to Erich and to Pendu. Bhau would go to Pune every Sunday to receive instructions concerning the Mandali recovering in Sitara and report to Baba about their condition. He would return to Sitara the same evening to look after Erich and Pendu. This was a time of exhaustion for Bhau. Eventually, in January 1957, Sidhu was called from Meherabad to remain near Pendu at night. Bhau was an amazing writer, and Baba had him translating some of the discourses into Hindi. He thought to put the whole books in dialogue form of these discourses to make it more interesting, and Baba was pleased. Baba asked Bhau to write ghazals. Bhau replied, Baba, it is not possible to write ghazals in Hindi. They can only be written in Urdu or Persian. Baba said, I taught Ghani to write ghazals, and I will also teach you, but first try. So Bhau tried and wrote almost 200 songs in ghazal form, which were later entitled in a book, Meher Gita, the Song of Meher. Baba liked them, but noted, these are songs, not ghazals. I will teach you when we were in Guru Prasad. Meanwhile, Baba instructed Bhau to translate Duncan's Wayfarers into Hindi, and Bhau began the work. Baba actually paved the way for Bhau to write ghazals 7 years before, when he dictated 2 ghazals in Hindi to him. But at that time, Bhau never thought Baba would ask him to compose them. Praising Bhau, Baba stated, Bhau has done an immortal translation of the book, The Everything of the Nothing in Hindi, and is now working on a Hindi version of The Wayfarers, which is another work he will accomplish. Baba complimented him and said, you have written with all your heart, but I want you to write ghazals, and today I will teach you. I am going to give you one line, and I want you to repeat it to the rhythm I will beat on my thighs. Baba's first line was, now my heart is terrified even to hear the name of love. This was difficult for Bhau initially, but he got it. He composed the first ghazal of what was the book of poetry, titled by Baba, Meher Sarod, the Song of Meher. Baba was pleased. He embraced Bhau and assured him, yes, this is what I want. Now I will continue giving you one line or so every day, and you should go on composing in this way. Every day for 2 months, Baba would give Bhau 1 or 2 lines, or give Bhau lines. Baba would have Bhau read out ghazals, which are composed in Baba's room. Often Baba would embrace him, kiss him, and gesture. Do you know, have any idea what you have written, how touching it is? You have no idea what you have written. Your writing just flows. It flows like a river. Bhau remembered the last line Baba dictated to him on January 30th, 1969. What will we do living when you have gone away? And composed a ghazal on it. Writing Lord Meher. Baba asked Bhau if he had spoken with Keshid Nigam from Meherabad. Baba asked what was discussed. Baba said, there's a need for your biography my biography in Hindi. And that's why Baba asked Bhau to write that. No more was said at the time, since Bhau was busy answering Baba's correspondence. During Bhau's watch on the night of January 24th, 1969, Baba gestured to him. Listen carefully to what I say. I am giving you very important work. I want you to write my biography in verse. Write in a simple and engaging way. Make it interesting and instructive. Use 4 types of meters. Include the lives of the 5 perfect masters at the beginning and also my father's life. Always remember that I like your writing very much. As Bhau later recollected, it was his wish that I write it, and by doing so, I have fulfilled his last orders to me. Later, this was translated into English as Lord Meher. And after Baba dropped his body, Bhau investigated all the stories, spent all his time writing day and night. In 1973, Bhau became a trustee of the Avatar Meher Baba Perpetual Public Charitable Trust. He later became its chairman and continued in this capacity until the end of his life. Starting in 1985, Bhau made extensive speaking tours, both inside and outside India. He visited the US, Europe, and Australia. He was interviewed in both press and radio, and also appeared in Roger Nygaard's film, The Nature of Existence. Due to poor health at the end of his life, he kept in touch with the worldwide Meher Baba community via internet chats and messages. This leaves us with a treasury of memories of dear Bhauji and time spent with him. On Wednesday, October 23rd, 2013, wait. Yeah. After Baba dropped his body, okay, so this is, okay, let me start again. On Wednesday, October 23rd, 2013 at 11:17 p.m., Bhau passed to Baba at Jahangir Hospital ICU in Pune, attended by his wife Rama, children Sheela and Mehernath, and very close family. He was 87 years old. Bhau was the last remaining member of Baba's Meherabad resident men Mandali. He was buried in the men Mandali cemetery at Lower Meherabad. And here's what Baba said about Bhau Kalchuri. Bhau is M.A. Administration and Bachelor of Science Agriculture. Even in his dreams, he shouts my name, although he himself does not know about it. So great is his love for me. Jai Baba.
That was so beautiful.
I remember you so distinctly being part of Bhauji's team.
Mother Namo.
Oh, team, no, but because I wasn't enough time there, but I could, every time I could come, I would come. He was, and every time I could be on Zoom, because he was the first Zoomer, then I came, tried to be there. He was such a beautiful soul and such a sweet heart and such a good, kind, and soft heart he had. And he wanted to help as many as he could because he understood that he was the last one. With the gifts that Baba put in each mandali, and he just wanted to give to as many as possible. He was so sweet and so kind and so funny and so beautiful. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Bhauji. Oof, yeah, such beauty in him.
Well, I'm sure every one of us here has a story with Bhauji. He was Baba's John. He for the world. He really gave so 100% and then some to all of us. So if you've got a story, Ruthie is her internet's not cooperating, so we'll just have to soldier on with that. John.
Yes, I had the good fortune to have quite a bit of contact with Bhauji. Um, and there are a number of stories that I'm including in the book I've been writing for decades, called His Brilliant Light, Stories of Meherabad and His Close Ones. But let me relate a couple of stories to you if there's time. If not, I'll just do one. So this was at a time in my life when I had been an academic administrator, and I was applied for the job as a dean in Indiana, and was appointed dean there. And unknown to me, the faculty wanted someone else, but the administration there wanted me to come in. And so it caused quite a bit of turmoil. I like to say it was the equivalent of being in the ocean with sharks circling you and occasionally taking bites. Anyway, I didn't share any of this with Bhauji because I knew that he had all of his own issues to deal with as chairman of the trust, and in all his travels, he had a lot on his plate, so to speak. So I never shared that with him, but it was a difficult time for me. Anyway, I went to a meeting and a talk that Bhauji gave in the Meher Center meeting place, and Deb and I had been in different places on the center, even though we were there together. So I came in one door and she came in a different door. We took seats in different places. And Bhauji told the story of the cobra. I'm sure many of you have heard that story. It was in Nectar for the Children and in a number of other books there. And to try to just briefly encapsulate that, a cobra is biting people in a village. A saint comes by, and the cobra's repentant since many villagers had died. The saint tells the cobra, "Okay, if you mend your ways, I will forgive you. You can't bite people anymore." So then the people of the village realized the cobra wasn't biting and beat up the cobra with sticks and stones. The saint came back and saw the condition of the cobra and said to the cobra, "What's happened to you?" And the cobra said, "I've been following your order not to bite anyone. So this is what the people have done." And so the saint said to the cobra, "Well, I didn't tell you not to hiss. If you had hissed, they would have run away." So Bhauji told that story. And Deb raised her hand. She was in another part of the meeting place, and said, "What happens if it's not a cobra, but a garter snake," referring to me, but not using my name or saying anything. And Bhauji turned back to her and then to me and said, "Don't worry, John can take care of himself." And so Bhau knew what was going on in my life, even though I didn't share the details. And I've heard other people say that about him, that he knew what was going on. He channeled Baba, so to speak, frequently. I spoke to him one time when he was about to give a talk at the Northeast Gathering. And we all know he gave so many talks. He would talk and talk and talk. So I said to him, "Bhauji, have you prepared this talk?" He was about to talk in a few minutes. said, no, John, I never prepare my talks. I just start talking and Baba directs me what to say. Just one last, do I have time for one more quick story?
Yes.
Okay. So I had been doing fundraising for Bhauji for a number of years for the trust. And this was really an excuse on my part just to spend more time with Bhauji. So I came to visit him once when he was in his room um, in the uh, in the compound in Ahmednagar there, the trust compound, and he was in the room behind that, where many of us would go in to see him. I'm sure most of you have done that. And so at the time, I had been getting some complaints from donors that were saying they weren't getting thank you notes from the trust. And so uh, I, Bhauji, after all the preliminaries of how are you doing, how's your trip, et cetera, he said, well, how, what's happening with fundraising? And I said, Bhauji, there are a number of people that have not gotten their thank you notes from the trust. And some of them, a few of them, are a little bit annoyed with that. And Bhauji said to me, no, that's impossible. We always send out thank you notes. My staff sends these out, and we don't ever neglect to do that. And I said, well, Bhauji, I have had people that have told me that they never got a thank you note. And he said, no, it's absolutely impossible. So I remember thinking to myself, Baba, how am I going to convince Bhauji that he has to go and talk to the staff and emphasize that they have to send out thank you notes for every donation that's made? I thought this internally. I didn't say it. And a few minutes later, an American Bible lover walked in, and after the preliminaries of how was your trip, how are you feeling, did you sleep well, and all of that, Bhauji said to him a similar thing. Well, what is going on in your life? And this American Bible lover said, Bhauji, I made a donation a couple of months ago, and I never got a thank you note. So Baba helped out there, and that drew Bhauji and I even closer. He became like a father to me. Anyway, I could go on and on with stories, but I'm sure many of the others of you have stories too.
I hope
Thank
we'll
you.
hear more from you, John. But we'll have Thursday now.
Jai Meher Baba. I thought I'd go early because my voice is gonna depart soon. So I have a lot to say about Bhau, but I'm going to minimize it because I loved him so much and I spent a lot of time with him. And every time I'd go to India, which was every year, sometimes twice a year in the last, I don't know, before COVID, it was almost every year since 2001. Established a real deep, intimate connection with him somehow, Baba's plan. A couple of highlighted stories of my time with him. One was he would come to Chicago, and the last time he was there, I really was excited about cooking for him, doing something for him, because usually he would go and stay with, Carol or somebody, and never really had, it was a kind of a cliquey exclusive club, but I was kind of pining in the background, wanting a part of his story and his visit to Chicago. So I asked him, and I asked his helpers to make dal for him. And I was so excited. I took it there, and I was the doll was taken from me, and I was shooed off. So but then no, wait, I wasn't shooed off. I take it back. we had the doll. I was invited to lunch with him, so we had the doll, but it had been microwaved. So to warm up and so anyway, so that was I'm like, dude, I mean, all this time, but that, Baba's kiss and kick. So that last same trip, he was leaving and we were told the wrong time to be present at the airport. So when we arrived, Jim and I think it was Amanda, he had already gone in. We did not have a chance to see him at all. So I'm like, oh, so disappointed. I come back home, disappointed, and I'm sitting there. This is gonna make me cry. Okay, I'm sitting there at my desk at the computer, and an airplane flies overhead. And this shower of love pours down on me from Bhau. So he knew. And that's really, I guess, all that mattered. So it was painful, some of the experiences in Chicago, but that's part of the story. But what makes it special and dear. Okay, he did ask me to start a center in Chicago. In fact, he was visiting the Meher Center, and I think it was his last trip here to the Meher Center. And all of a sudden, I'd been in contact with him, keeping him informed during the chats that the Chicago Center had closed, and people were meeting in homes and this and that, just keeping him informed. And he'd kind of been teasing me about a center. And I'd always say, no, Bhauji, I live in the burbs. I have no way of getting a Chicago center going. So this went on, this dance with Bhau about the center in Chicago went on for 4 years when we didn't have a center. And suddenly in the middle of his talk at the Meher Center at the meeting place, he stops, he looks at me, points me in the audience and says, laughing mother, now you are the chairman of the Chicago Center, go do it. And I had always resisted it, but now with this command came the energy. He also imparted the energy toward it. And I'm like, I guess so. At the end of that meeting, a woman approached us and she offered us a space for the Chicago Center. She's like, oh, I'm so glad I learned that you are from Chicago. I've been wondering if there are Baba lovers in Chicago. And she turned out to be, gave us our very first space. And Marvin will probably have a lot to say about how we lovingly revamped that space and decorated it and painted the walls in this pearlesque pink color. And then some carpet company donated a carpet for us to redo the carpeting, flooring, and it matched the walls perfectly. It was like Baba's coat. The walls were the color of Baba's coat. And anyway, so everything just came together. We got the 501c3 and all the donations came in within 3 months. From September to December, we had a center and we opened it. And it was really, truly beautiful experience to have gone through that. And the lovers who had been pining for a place to gather, we were all there, and Michelle was there and she sang that beautiful song, which made me weep again. And the song does go say, Meher Baba is making my heart something, making me cry. So that's why Bhauji renamed me. I was Mother Weeper, and he said, now you're Laughing Mother. So now I try to be the laughing mother for him and for Baba. And I'd like to conclude with just a couple of poems I wrote for him. And this is just, again, the tip of the iceberg as far as my stories with him, personal, intimate connection with him, but this will have to do. This one's called A While Longer for Bhauji. I must be honest and admit that I wasn't quite ready for you to depart. And now that you are staying, and I don't know if you guys recall, but he had announced that he was leaving March 15th with his exit visa, but then his visa got canceled until October 2013. So now that you are staying, I beg of him, I can't do it. Take over, Betty. Sorry.
Maybe later, there, stay. You can come back.
Come back.
Do you mind making me co-host, please? Susan?
No.
You're muted, Susan. Oops. Gotta unmute.
Okay. I got it now. Thank you for those wonderful stories and part of the poem. I can't wait to hear the rest of it. So I was in the middle 80s, I was in Ahmednagar, and Bhau was giving a talk at the old then new Pilgrim Center dining hall. And he said, he was talking about Adam and Eve, and he said that he was equating Eve with Maya and with darkness. And I raised my hand, and in front of all these people, I said that I thought that was sexist. And then there was like this silent gasp that went through the room. And I also was completely freaked after that. I just felt like, oh my God, I criticized one of Baba's mandali, and I was really distraught. And Bhau came and sought me out a day or two later. And, I talked to him a little bit about my issues. I'm not really sure, I wasn't sure if he understood or not, but he said to me, it's okay to criticize me, but just don't let him go, meaning Baba. And so I came away thinking, my God, this guy is a real mensch. I mean, he cared about my feelings, he sought me out. And after that, I really bonded with Bhau, and he became one of my favorite mandali. And every time he would come to the United States, I would make a point of trying to see him. And then in the early 90s, I needed surgery. It was for uterine fibroids, which is to say, it wasn't life-threatening, but it was major surgery. And I was completely freaked. I'd never had surgery as an adult, and I'm a real baby. And Bhau was coming to the Bay Area where I was living at the time, the weekend before my surgery. And I wanted just to tell him. I knew what he was going to tell me, but I just wanted to hear it. So there was a reception for Bhau in the East Bay. Maybe it was at the Talbots, I don't remember. There was a potluck with a lot of food and a lot of talking and yakking and people. And then Bhau retired to a couch in another room, sat and held forth, as we know he does. And people were all around him. They were sitting in front of him, practically on his lap. They were hanging over his shoulder. And I was still in the buffet room, the potluck room, and I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to have a chance to talk to Bhau tonight. All these people are taking his attention. And as I watched, because I could see into the other room, he stood up. He sort of made a gesture of like wiping the people off like they were crumbs, stepped over people, walked over to me in the other room, looked at me and said, and how are you? And so I said, well, Bhau, now that you mention it, I'm not too good. I'm having surgery this week. It's kind of scary. And, and he said, you'll be fine. He'll be with you. And then he said, make sure he's with you. You take him with you. And I said, yes, Bhau, yes. And I knew that I would be okay. And of course I was okay. And then a few years later, I was back in New York City because my mother was dying of cancer. And that summer, Bhau was going to be at the Northeast Gathering. So I got a ride from a Baba lover, went to the Northeast Gathering for the weekend, and somebody announced that Bhau would be having individual meetings with people in Manhattan the following week. So I thought, I'll take a slot, I'll bring my mother, and she'll get to meet Bhau before she dies. So I went home and I told my mother about the plan. My mother was Jewish. She was not a Baba lover, but she had put up with me for years and actually came with me to the center one weekend. And as horrified as she was about God in human form, she loved Kitty, who invited her to watch The Jewel and the Crown with her. And so, so she had an idea who Bhau was, but she wasn't excited about meeting him. And she looked very nervous. And then she came up, and then she realized something, and she said, "Oh, Susie, I can't go. It's impossible. I have a sisterhood meeting that morning." So, and I said, "You have to go to your sisterhood meeting?" She said, "Yes." So I said, "Well, what time is your sisterhood meeting?" So she told me, and it turned out that our meeting with Bhau was 1 hour before her sisterhood meeting and also around the corner from the temple. So I presented these facts to her, and she realized she was beat. She agreed to come with me. And then, so she did come with me. And as soon as she saw Bhau, she just melted. And it was like I wasn't in the room. There was just my mother and Bhau. And my mother, even though this was just a few months before she died, she didn't look that sick. She had a way of spiffing herself up. She had a nice wig, and we didn't tell Bhau about her diagnosis. But Bhau turned to her and said, "Don't be afraid. The illusion will fall away, and you'll be with him." And he pointed up. He didn't say Baba. My mother wasn't a Baba lover. But my mother knew what he meant, and there were tears in her eyes. And she was greatly comforted. And I was greatly comforted going through the death of my mother. And to this day, as I'm aging, I have those words in my head in Bhau's voice: "Don't be afraid, the illusion will fall away." That's all.
Wow.
Jai Baba.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you, Susan. That really was beautiful. Well, I don't know if Baba wants me in this meeting, but I'm here again, so I keep losing internet. The first time I remember, I think I saw Baba when I was in India in 1985, but I saw probably most of the Mandali at that time. And I don't know that I had a chance to really sit down and talk to Bhau, but in, I guess, 97, I moved to North Carolina, and there was a fella named Joe Parker who lived in a little town south of me, Pittsburgh, and he was having Bhau to his home. So I was happy to get a chance to go down and meet Bhau again, or at least see him again. And when I came in and I looked at him, he had such his eyes were dark. It's the only way I can say it. His eyes were dark, and I think somewhat maybe just dark underneath his eyes even, but his eyes were so incredible. I saw such suffering and pain and love and spirituality in his eyes that I just burst into tears. I mean, I hid my crying from everybody, but I just couldn't believe what I was seeing when I looked at his face and into his eyes. So fast forward, I guess, into the 70s or early 70s, and I was getting married, and my future husband and I went to the center, and Bhau was there, so we got to meet Bhau and spend some time with him. And my future husband was talking about traveling to India, And I've had health issues since I'm 21. I've had health issues all my life. So I just didn't feel that it was safe for me to travel at that time because of my health. And so Bao said, don't worry about it. We went and met him, and I just cried out my heart and said, you know, I'm so drawn to come, but I would feel terrible if I got there and became a burden on the people there. It just wouldn't be fair to the Mandalay and the people in India. He said, don't worry about a thing. He said to my husband, B, he said, when you get there, when you get to India, you get in touch with me and we'll get flower lei and we'll take it to Baba's tomb for your wife. And so that's what happened. I have this wonderful, and I think Bao made him take a photo. So there's my husband and there's Bao, and they're holding this lei with such reverence and love. And it just did my heart good to, even though I couldn't be there, have that opportunity. So, and I remember coming, Ferris Day shared a little bit about some of the ups and downs and the ins and outs with people and such. But I remember being at the center, and Bao was in the farm shed, and all these people were over there there were a lot of laughter and breakfast and all this stuff. And I wasn't invited. And I don't know if somebody said to me, so what, let's go get your cereal box and let's go. I don't remember how it happened, but I went over there and opened the door. And when I did, at the far end of the table sat Bao, and he stood up and he opened his arms to me. And of course, I just went right into the embrace, and he just welcomed me and had me sit near him and just made me feel like I was part of the in crowd. So anyway, thank you, Baba, for Bao. Jai Baba. Yeah.
That reminded me, these stories are so touching because Bhauji was so touching, because he had this beautiful, beautiful heart and so soft. He was so good. He was good through and through. He was so soft, so loving. But he was like that, you know, from birth. And it became even more so with Baba's, well, that's why Baba loved him so much. Yeah, it reminded me of this, your story, Ruthie, that he never turned anyone away. And also Susan, because he knew our hearts, and he never, never, ever made cliques catch on to him without and leaving out some others, and that was so special about him. Like he went out to Susan, just left everyone and went out to Susan, and just, you know, someone told you to take your cornflakes, and he just opened his heart. And I felt the same way at his door, you know, when he was so sick. He couldn't be in his office. His office was always open, but all the Mandalay's offices were open, and it was so amazing. You have no place in the world that you will go to a chairman and the door will be open. You don't have to have a secretarial appointment 1 month before. It's and you know, it was amazing what the Mandalay did. You know, it was, the doors were always open. But with Bhauji, it was even especially so that when he moved when he was very, very sick, and he moved to his room, and because he couldn't walk, he couldn't go down the steps, he couldn't even walk the path, he was in great suffering, and he was in all these robes, not because he wanted to be in the robes. He loved dressing up. Every time he could dress up, he just enjoyed it so much. But he had Baba put him in robes. In the beginning, it was only bathrobes. So can you imagine, the chairman is sitting, and he's so particular about getting clothes, wearing clothes, and and he's in these robes. So later on, some people put some robes on him. So he was with robes because of the medical procedures that he went through, and he had to have this attachment to his whatever, and that's why he needed these robes. So the room was so little, and he had to work, and he did tremendous amount of work. It's just amazing how much work this man did. But if you came to his door, even if it was a private time, even if it was not yet time to come in, even if it was he was very, very busy, he would not, even if he were sent away, because sometimes the team would know that he's too busy and that he shouldn't be disturbed at this time. His team was amazing. Just to see him with his team, the girls' team, the Mother C and Mother MP and Joy and all these, they were amazing, and they tried to take care of him, but he never took care of himself. So sometimes they would send you away even because of that, because he had to rest, or he had to this or to that, and I would just turn away and go. And I would trust, of course, his team that it was right to be sent away at this time. No, he would send someone after me to come in. And so it's just, he was amazing. And the ability, he was so bright. He was a genius. And he could do at the same time so many things and accomplish so many things. That's how he did. That's how he did what he did. And so, yeah, so this is only one thing that was sparked by what Susan told and what Ruthie told, it's touching ways of being so kind and so human, so endearing. Dear Bhauji. Oh, and yes, and I want to sing a song. I want to sing a song, a birthday song that I wrote in 2013. No, that I wrote in 2013. No, how could I write it? Yeah, so it was his first birthday celebration after he passed away. And he was so hurt. He was so disappointed by Baba not keeping his promise that he would go away on the 15th of March. He was so hurt, and Baba told him, but it's your lovers. Your lovers still want you here. They want you to go on. So so finally he did get the visa. Dear one. So O Bavatar, Meo Baba, Ki Jai, and dear Bhauji. Who in the middle of the night, who in the middle of the night would sit by beloved's side, would sit by beloved's side, not sleeping a wink, the mosquitoes would sting. It was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, fool number 9. It was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, Baba's lion gazelle writer and scribe, who wrote all the ghazals with his tears, who wrote all the ghazals with his heart. At beloved's feet was ground into dust, at beloved's feet was ground into dust. From a dynasty came Tatagaru, became Tatagaru is empty pocket. He used to say, I'm Tatagaru, I'm empty pocket. He came from such a dynasty and rich place, and so did Rama, by the way. They left everything. So it was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, fool number 9. It was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, Baba's lion gazelle writer and scribe, who always won the boxing match, who always won the boxing match with Fred Stanlooks, the tall guy and the little one. In East and West made everyone laugh and relax. In East and West made everyone laugh and relax. You could not walk and walk, but you talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. It was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, fool number 9. It was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, Baba's lion, ghazal, writer, and scribe, who filled our hearts with Baba's wine, who filled our hearts with Baba's wine. In chats and talks you opened Baba's tavern wide. In chats and talks you opened Baba's tavern wide. You would have us dance and sing, Baba's stories you would bring. It was you, Bhauji, dear Bhauji, fool number 9. Thank you, dear Bhauji, sweet Bhauji, for all that you in Baba's love for us have done. And about Betty talking about sleeping in his chats. It was something. No one could keep their eyes open if it was time to sleep in Bauji's chats, because it was some kind of a spiritual thing happening there. Bauji used to say that we used to go to the beyond beyond at that time. we just flew into the beyond in his presence, and I used to try to keep my eyes open like that. It didn't help. So anyone who fell asleep in Bauji's chat, don't think it's a private thing, or it's something that that is not right to be done, because many of us at different times couldn't keep our eyes open when we flew to beyond in Bauji's chat. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Bhauji. Happy birthday.
Wonderful, Mikkel. Yeah, I know you love him so much. Michael.
Hi, Betty.
Hey.
I had a miraculous relationship with Bhau. And well, when I met him, well, I went to the Great Darshan, and I wrote an arti, which I wanted to share with you guys. But in '74, I made another trip, and he taught me how to write ghazals. But when it came time for me to write them, I had lost his instructions, and all I remembered was, it's the lover's complaint to the beloved. And so I wrote 26 ghazals in I finished in May of '89. And I believe I know it coincided with Mara's passing, because I felt compelled to write these poems, because there was nothing, I had to do it. So in 2009, I hadn't read them much to the public. I was driven to go up to Meherabad, where he was Memorial Day weekend. And I asked him if I could read my poems. And he said, well, I think about it. And previously, when I went up to him, he had taken my hand and looked up at me, and it was a very soft, loving hand. And he said, Michael, you're a good man. And I just wept, because I had a very hard life up to that time. And I hadn't been to a Baba meeting in 20 years. And I had made a promise to find Baba in the middle of hell, which I did. And I was in a spiritual daze when I went to see him in 2009. And shortly thereafter, he said, go ahead, read your poems. And then I'm sitting with everybody in the pandal. And I find that the beginning of the proceedings was the 5 major prayers to the 5 major religions. And Alan Talbot gets up and says, okay, Michael Childs. I was so blown away that I was in such prestigious company. You know, that was, I'm more used to being kicked around and treated with respect. And here I was in this great company with a great soul, and people listening. So I got up and I started reading a ghazal without giving any introduction. So people thought originally it was Bhau's ghazals, and And then I realized that I was the author. Why don't I read you one of the guzzles? This was, I don't know why I'm picking this particular one, mainly because it's well, one that I read that Albert Allen liked. Had me read it twice, in fact. Often I see my past lives and weep. There is no glory in them, no pride, no famous names over which to gloat or boast. Just mountains of arms and legs and heads from battles I have fought. Women raped and screaming, children stabbed and bleeding, outraged at the injustice of it all that by my hand I had commanded, or by the sword I had wielded. I am bathed in blood. There is no redemption for my deeds. I caused the death of millions of souls and 6,000 men crucified on the Appian Way for something I never forgave myself. I raised a slave revolt because of anger, and thousands died because of it. It was a lie when I said, I'll take you to the promised land. Just a lie to make you angry and a lie to give you hope. A lie to cover my own wish to die. Better to die as freemen, I said, than live as slaves. Resolved to lie about our bleak prospects and lie about ships to carry us to freedom. I ask you, Lord, and all those involved, forgive me this awful abuse of trust which haunts me day and night. You have always been forgiven, you replied. Now forgive yourself. What happened is all past. Those people followed you because they loved you. You gave them hope and a sense of their own power, that slaves united could defeat the mightiest of armies. Trust yourself to raise another army, one that wages war on war, greed, and selfishness. If you fight as well as you did many years ago, you will succeed. There is no promised land except in your hearts and in the stillness of your minds. I will always be there to guide you. And if you should make mistakes, don't worry. I will always love you. Well, I'd finish reading a poem and I'd look at Bhau's face in the audience and he would just have this big shit-eating grin on his face. He was just like so happy to hear me read. Later on, he compared me to Valmiki, Shams, and Rumi, and I knew that these are perfect masters and I didn't qualify for that kind of praise. But what do I know? I just see a glimpse. I don't see the whole picture. And Bhau had the ability to see the whole picture because Baba worked through him and I really was a direct recipient of that. So we were very tight. We would correspond all the time. And in July, and that time, excuse me, we, my son and I went to the center. And that's when Farishte paid for his trip to India. Thank you, Farishte. And he's listening to us, I believe. There he is. And he also blessed the relationship with my Layla, because I called myself Majnun, and he never changed the name except that he combined it with her name or her moniker, which is Layla. So our name is Layla Majnun, and he made sure that her name came first, just in case I had any big ideas about myself. And he said, "I will put you in my Nazar." And that, I wanted to tell you, was the most extraordinary trip experience, to have him in my head, on my shoulder, of this benign presence that did not judge me. I knew I was screwing up and I was having sex and doing all these things which were no-nos for the living the new life. But there was never any judgment. There was just this love that and this companionship, which I sorely missed when he left the body. I know I have it on another level with Baba, but it was really sweet because I love the man. And and David and I went there in the next year, 2011, when he had an operation on his hip to get hip surgery because he was born without hip sockets. And one went in, but the other one did not. So we went there for a medical procedure. And the recovery, we were there 2.5 months, and we saw Bhau at least twice a week. And we were just really tight. I once looked at him going to the bathroom, and he had all these robes and a colostomy, and he had to go before he spilled the contents of the bag, which is quite a messy thing. But I couldn't help myself. I just put my hands together and said, "Bhau." And he was 20 feet away, and I could tell he did not want to talk to anybody. And I said, "When I see you, I see God." And he turned and did the namaste to me back and rushed off to do his business. But I never forgot that moment. So I wrote a poem for him when I got back to the States, because I like boats. And I wanted to, this idea came to me, so I wrote it. Come rowing with me. Come rowing with me. Set aside your mantle and staff and sit with me a while in solitude. Let us row gently to different worlds and different lands. Listen to water lapping the boat, sturdy and seaworthy, ready for any storm, confident in solitude. Here, far from shore, in the embrace of ocean, there is nothing to be done, nothing to be said. It is that it is, solitary travelers face to face with the mystery and the master of solitude. Myriad life forms swim beneath us. Ocean is cradle to life itself. The sunset ignites the sky on fire. There is no beginning nor end to heaven's dome. The night blazes forth countless jewels as we sit in solitude. So David there, he could probably tell you his side of the story. And he was in the throes of alcoholism and schizophrenia, and he was in a bad way. But he came out of it, and he just celebrated the 2.5 years of sobriety, and it was a miracle how he did it. So I know Baba was rooting for him, urging him on, whispering in his ear. So, shall I read you that RT that I wrote shortly after Darshan?
Yes.
Okay. I played the guitar for everybody when I was in the Guru Prasad. I didn't know. I just brought it with me, and it just come out of the guitar shop the morning before the flight, and I hadn't played it in its new condition, and it was so big it stuck out of the guitar case. If it had been a rainstorm, it would have been destroyed. And I get there and I find that there's this crowds of people that wanted to sing for Baba, and I could accompany them because that's what I had studied and worked on. I was a professional musician. I was pretty well schooled. So I was up in front of the stage quite a bit, not stage, but in the front of the group. So when we first got there was a green chair that Baba sat on with a picture and a garland and sandals on the floor. And I didn't feel anything. And I was so disappointed. So right now I could feel it, but I was so buried buried. I mean, it's taken me years to come out of the shell. And all I could think of was I was bitterly disappointed, but I didn't say anything. But I thought, Baba, reveal yourself. Reveal yourself to me. I've come 10,000 miles. And I want more than an empty chair. I don't want to read any more books. I don't want to see any more pictures. I want to see you. So the next day during Erich's talk, and he was so lovable, wonderful, the room disappeared. And I stood before an oval mirror, I swear it was 14 feet high. And as I looked into the mirror, I saw my true self. And I wept. And I wept. And all I could think of was, here I am, a piece of shit, floating around the sewers of New York City, and God remembered me. And I have not stopped weeping. It drove me mad. I didn't know what to do with this. But I got back to the United States, and I was at the center. I was walking on the beach, and I was thinking, well, the Australian arty didn't move me that much. The American arty didn't move me. I loved the Gujarati arty, but I didn't have the words. I wanted to write something that expressed myself. And I'd studied composition for years, and I played guitar for a dozen years, and I still hadn't done anything that was that I could say was my style. I could do everybody else's style but my own. And these words came to me, and I set the music to them, and I'd sing it for you, except my voice is a lot like a frog right now. And I'll work on it, I promise. So when I come to India next, I'll be able to sing. So I wrote these. This is called Take Me, because at one point we all knelt in front of Baba's chair and placed our heads on the sandals. And when I did, all I could think of was, take me. So that became the title to this arty. So it's called Take Me, a Prayer for a New Age. Here I stand by the ocean's edge, worn and ravaged by the roaring wind, washed by the waves of relentless time. Lord, I have waited long for thee. I know thee to be infinite love, beyond the compass of any mind, and though my tongue uses finite words, be not deaf to this lover's prayer. Currents of fear swirl about my feet, loosening the hold that I have on thee. Clouds of worries cast shadows that keep thy love from my sight. My brothers long to see thy face, but lost in fear, they feel only pain. Lift them up, Lord, with thy grace, and cause their darkness to be filled with light. O God, in thy glory, fill the world with peace. Let men stand as brothers side by side and build a new humanity. And Lord, as I stumble on this rocky path of life, let thy light forever guide my way. May my every word and deed be worthy of thy love. And when my time has come, according to thy will, take me, oh, take me. Melted in the furnace of the game of life, purity of thought is slowly formed. Torn by the opposites of worldly strife, our ignorance falls like a worn-out shell. And when we turn our sight within, we learn to value love above all. When this love shines like the sun, then you and I become not we, but one. O God, Creator, omnipotent, I ask thee for nothing. Naked I stand before thy gaze, clothed in the mantle thou hast given me. O God, beloved of all true loves, beloved beyond all time and space, knower of my heart and mind, I would be one with thee. O God, in thy glory, fill the world with peace. Let men stand as brothers side by side and build a new humanity. And Lord, as I stumble on this rocky path of life, let thy light forever guide my way. May my every word and deed be worthy of thy love. And when my time has come, according to thy will, take me. Take me. Take me. Oh, take me. Gee, Baba.
Hey, Baba Michael, thank you for much beauty, wonderful, wonderful shares. Thank you, wonderful poetry. I'm going to call on Sally now because she needs to leave soon. So then Joy. Sally? And then oh.
Okay, Baba. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So I had the good fortune of meeting Bhauji several times. But the thing is, I don't exactly remember when I met him first. It was in the early 90s, of course. And I believe there was a summer picnic at Jean and Phil Ludwig's house when they were here in New Jersey, in Saraville. They were living there at that time. And they had a big house and a beautiful big backyard. So they had a summer picnic, and Bhauji was visiting. And I'm sure it was the year 1996, if I'm not mistaken, because my younger son at that time was 3 years old, and my older son was 9 years old. And we decided to go for that beautiful picnic with all the Baba lovers there. And when we got there a little late, and we parked our car on the street. There was like hardly any parking because there were so many people, and it was difficult to find parking. But somehow we managed it, and we went around the house to the back of the house to the backyard. And then at that time, we hardly knew anyone. The only people we knew was Nosharwan and his wife Maruk, and of course, Jean and Phil Ludwig. So, and we were trying to get across and saying our Jai Babas to everybody that we met. And then Bhauji was seated, in the distance, at a distance, and somehow he saw us from far back there, and he got up and he walked towards us. He came all the way, he came towards us, and it was so sweet. And my younger son, I don't know what the connection is from past lives or whatever it is, he took an instant liking to Bhauji, and he jumped on him. And he clung on to Bhauji that like he was his grandfather or something. I don't know. So he was with Bhauji like he knew him since for, I don't know. But that was that. And it was very sweet of Bhauji to welcome us like that. And he took us along with him. And then, then there was beautiful meeting everybody and the picnic, of course. And then I believe that summer, 1996 again, or maybe the next summer, I don't know, we were in Myrtle Beach, and Bhauji was visiting. I'm not sure if it's the same meeting, but he was there, and I have these two beautiful pictures. I'm going to pin myself and show you these pictures. So here's the one, if you can see.
You
have
your background.
The background, Prakash? Sure, we'll do that. Yeah. Choose virtual background.
Go to video settings.
Video
Yeah,
settings.
and unprint. Then go to background effects. And then just choose one. Yeah.
Okay.
Here you are. Okay. Oh, beautiful. There it is. We can see you. You're good. I'll
So-
spotlight.
Yeah.
That's
This is
so
the picture.
sweet.
This is Bhauji outside the barn, I believe, and that's my younger son. The little guy, he was 3 years old. He's 30 now,
And that's my older son, Harsha. He was 9 years old. He's 36 now. So that was meeting Bhauji. And this is another picture meeting him at the meeting place. So that was me and Sandeep, my younger son, and Harsha with Bhauji. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
And you're such a child here. You're so young.
So yeah, these are our memories, beautiful memories with Bhauji, our first meeting at the center and at in Saraville at Phil and Jean Ludwig's house. So and like everybody shared, Bhauji was one of the sweetest Mandali members and always had so much love for everybody. And if there is time and if it's okay, I would like to share a ghazal that Bhauji wrote along with Baba. Baba and Bhauji wrote this together, only if it's okay.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
always okay, Sally. Please.
Jai Baba. So this is called Kuch Kehna Hai To, and which means if you have to say anything, just let it be the words of love. If there is anything to say at all, say only the words of love. Love is the essence. Become a must for beloved Baba's sake and drink the nectar of love. Burn all your desires in the fire of love, and instead of worrying about yourself, live for others. You give everything that belongs to you to the Sadguru and accept everything from him. So here's the song. कुछ कहना है तो कहना हो तो प्रेम की बातें किया करो प्रेम ही सार है प्रेम ही सार है. The word prem means love. मस्त बनो प्रियतम के कारण मस्त बनो प्रियतम के कारण प्रेम सुधारस पिया करो कबाब दिल का बना के खाओ कबाब दिल का बना के खाओ खून जिगर का पिया करो कुछ कहना है तो कहना हो तो प्रेम की बातें किया करो प्रेम ही सार है प्रेम ही सार है. ऐसा मरना मरो कि जिससे मरने पर भी जिया करो अपने खातिर मरा करो तुम पर के खातिर जिया करो कुछ कहना है तो कहना हो तो प्रेम की बातें किया करो प्रेम ही सार है प्रेम ही सार है. सतगुरु को सब अपना देकर उससे सब कुछ लिया करो भाव कहे कुछ कहना है तो भाव कहे कुछ कहना है कुछ कहना है तो कहना हो तो प्रेम की बातें किया करो प्रेम ही सार है प्रेम ही सार है. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. So this was the ghazal written by Bhauji and Baba together. Thank you so much, Betty, for giving me the this opportunity to go ahead. I appreciate it. Jai Meher Baba.
Ellie, I've never heard a translation. Do you have an English translation?
Yes, I do. So the word pray means love. So in this ghazal, they're saying that if there is anything to be said, let it be only the words of love, because love is the essence. And they're saying, become a must for beloved Baba's sake and drink the nectar of love. Burn all your desires in the fire of love. And instead of worrying about yourself, live for others. You give everything that belongs to you to the Sadguru and accept everything from him. Jai Baba. That was the meaning.
Oh, beautiful, Sally. That was just, oh, precious, wonderful. Thank you so much. Wow.
Very nice. Thanks. Thank you, Jai Baba. It is amazing.
I believe Joy is next.
Hi. Yeah, Jai Meher Baba, everyone. I'm really enjoying hearing all of the stories of what happened to people when they were with Bhau, and it's just so familiar and to my own experience of Bhau. So it's like just saying what I also have experienced with him. I just have some short tidbits that I remembered. I didn't spend a lot of time one-on-one with Bhau. I wanted to mention Mahal saying, but falling asleep in the talks. And last night at the center, for the first time, there was a movie of Bhau giving a talk. And I got there really early and sat in the front row, which I know I shouldn't do because I nod off as well. And it was really beautiful, beautiful movie, black and white. I mean, one of the most, it was stunning, I thought. But by the time the movie started, the whole place was, I think, filled up. I didn't really look around, but I heard a lot of people coming in. And I told myself, you're not going to fall asleep. The lights go down, you're not going to fall asleep, because it's about Bhau. And you really want to catch everything. Well, the talk went on and I was really doing well. And then suddenly I could feel my head on my chest. And I said, lift up, lift up. And I would push my head up and I would stay there for a while and then again. And the movie came to an end and I was awake at the end, but I missed something. So I'm going to have to, it's going to be on Zoom, I think, in a couple of days. It was wonderful, you guys. And so I'm getting up and Gail next to me says, I was nodding off. And then a guy behind me said, I missed his jokes. Like, oh, shoot, I missed this stuff. So we're all kind of groggy walking out, but I can hardly wait to when I can be at home and be really, really awake and not fall asleep. Anyway, Baba came to me in the mid 80s and it took me a couple of years to have it, to be sure. Yeah. And there's a story there, but I'm not going to go into it. And on the last nail in the coffin, so to speak, I started going to the Sahabases in Chicago. Bhau would be there. And I would be waiting in the background for my little question, and after I felt I gave everybody a chance, I would pipe up and I said to him, Bhau, if Bob is everywhere, why do I have to go to India? I don't have to go, right? And I couldn't afford it anyway. So Bhau says, you come to India. And that's all he said, you come. So that was one little tidbit. That was real quick. Then another time Bhau came for another Sahavas, and I started feeling very jealous that he had met Baba in person. And I felt a need to share this with him. So I went up to him when there was a relatively few people around him. And I said, Bhau, I'm really jealous of you. And he points at me, and I think he almost stuck his finger in my chest. I'm jealous of you, he said. I said, oh, come on, don't do this, I said, why? And he said, because you have Baba without seeing him, without ever being with him. And the humility of this man, I'm jealous of you. Whether he meant it or not, I don't know, but it helped me a little bit. Anyway, I'm looking at my little list of tiny things here. A couple weeks ago, I had moved to Myrtle Beach recently, across the street from the center. And a couple weeks ago, I woke up, but I really wasn't awake. And I went to my window of my bedroom, and Bhau was there, staring up at me, smiling. And there were thousands of people following him. I mean, I couldn't see the edges. With this huge smile on his face. And I was so happy. And I thought, do I come down now? Do I join the crowd? What do I do? I'm up in my second story window here. And then I woke up. But maybe it was because his birthday was coming up. I don't know. But it was very real, very real. And it reminded me of going to the Mayor's Center when Bhau was there. I had just been somewhere else, and I said, no, I have to go again. A few weeks later, I'm off again, following the Sahavas around. And my remembrance of the Sahavas at Myrtle Beach, one of them was trailing after Bhau with all these people, and we're just like following him. And so the dream kind of mirrored that, except there were probably, I'm guessing 10,000 people in the dream, there was no end to it. So, and I'll end on, somebody mentioned that when Bhau came to town, he couldn't eat ice cream in our RT kind of after chat there. And so somebody found an ice cream he could eat. And I want to know what that is so I can go get some, because I've been avoiding ice cream lately. So if anybody knows what Bhau could eat. And that reminds me too of a departed Baba lover, Mark Palmer. And I think he and Bhau shared love of ice cream. And I don't know if he called Mark ice cream, I don't know, and I remember that Mark would come to the Sahavas from far away to be with Bhau. But anyway, this is all stream of consciousness, and I'll leave it there at that. That's what just popped into my mind today. Thanks for listening.
That's the best, Joy. That was wonderful.
Ice cream.
Stream of consciousness. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And now Elizabeth.
Well, I think I'll start with ice cream. So I've been to India 3 times. The first time was business a long time ago. The second time was 85, 86, and the third time was 87, 88. And I think this was the 87, 88. And why 2 months? Because I would go at the end of December and stay through Bhauji's birthday. And so I would stay about 20 to 22 days, something like that. So the last time I went, when Bhauji was there, I was invited to his room and we had ice cream. And he was seated in this chair, and I guess I was on the floor in front of him or something, and they brought out the ice cream, and I guess there was a birthday cake, and we sang happy birthday, and it was just a lot of fun. And I didn't know that Bhau could eat ice cream, but I think he gave me his ice cream or something like that. But anyway, that was a nice memory. I think I first met Bhauji in 1985. I had actually learned about Baba for years and thought it was some cult thing, and was really, and I'm very anti-culty things. So, but I had actually met Adi K. Irani at one of his visits to Washington, D.C., and it took me a long time, and Baba basically surrounded me for a year, and with different things that are inexplicable, as you guys know, coincidental things. So this was 85, and my heart broke open looking at the book, The Beloved. And it was that summer, probably May or June, that I came to the center. And I think that was the first year that Bhauji came to the center. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was there in 85. And then I would come to the center whenever he would be at the center. I tried to always come when he would be there. And when I was there, I would follow him around like a puppy dog. And I would always sit as close to him as I could anytime he spoke. And I also had that experience of falling asleep often when he spoke. And as Farishte said, would enter into the beyond state or whatever. And I felt I had a special relationship with him. I didn't see him as much as many of you did, and I didn't get to go to India as much for various reasons. But he called me Dr. Sister. And he started doing that early on. And at first it was Dr. Sister number 2, because there was another Dr. Sister. I don't know what happened to this Dr. Sister, but after a few years, he promoted me to Dr. Sister number 1. And I always felt extremely close, and I still feel extremely close to Bhauji. I've only had one dream about him, and that was within the past year and a half. And I keep wishing for dreams about him. But I do still miss him terribly, and wish he were here. I would often have the experience of calling up the center seeking to visit, and I would have found out that they just got Bau's reservations. And I would like intuitively know when Bhauji was coming and would always call. And I had a kind of internal communication with him. When he was sick in the hospital one time, I ended up calling India and was able to talk with him. So, you know, he never told me to do anything or whatever. He knew I was kind of glued to the world, but with the spiritual basis in being in the world, that I would not be the must type. And he would often talk to me in these gatherings, and it was a little embarrassing because he'd look straight at me and speak his lecture toward me. And I didn't quite know what to make of it. I just kind of accepted it, but it was embarrassing because he would point at me and he'd say, Dr. Sister, and then he'd go on. And there are lots of little incidents like that. I won't go into the detail, but God, I wish he were still here. Anyway, Jai Baba. Oh, and I have at least 7 or 8 letters from Bhauji. I probably should get them to some archival place. And I haven't read them recently. I probably need to find them and read them, because who knows what he said in them that I didn't pick up back then. But I also find it interesting who is here today, because somehow I know we're all connected by this strong connection to Bhauji. Anyway, God bless you, Bhauji. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Heartfelt. Richard, we haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I don't, I think I want to confess that I was sort of, I think a bit of a black sheep, even when I was an active member of the Denver Baba group. But my first encounter with Bhau was in Denver, and he came for a visit. And I don't really remember the date, but probably had to be around, early 90s. And, but I had an experience of not knowing Bhau, but I knew Hermes. So early on in the Denver Baba group, when Hermes started printing the English version of the biography, so I was kind of the link to the Denver group. And so I would get, I think it was Hermes, I'd tell Hermes, okay, the Denver group wants this many volumes, and then he sent free books, and And so I got the nothing and the everything, and I was the age manifesting, and I found those eventually to be very, very valuable. But that was actually, it was sort of a link to Bhau, and I didn't even know him really. I learned his history later, but reading Sheela's book, David Svenster, I learned more about Bhau and is it Rama was Sheela's mother? And I was just like, wow, good God, these people were like kings and queens of the world. And here they are in destitution, in slavery with Baba. And it just blew me over. But anyway, the next thing was I'm pretty sure of this, was it 1994, the first opening of Meherabad, because it was always around Bhau, always around Bhau. So that was the only time I went, and I went there with a couple of members of the Denver group, and I could not understand Bhau at all. I would listen and listen and listen, like, what am I into? I'm going, what? I tried to catch the consonants at the beginning of every word, and I couldn't follow that. And if I did catch some track of his, dissertation, he would jump to something else, and I was lost again. And it just went on and on and on. And a footnote to that was I was warned, but I got heat stroke. I never had it in my life, and I got heat stroke while I was trying to listen to Bhau the second day under those blue tents. And I mean, I was going like, and my head started pounding and pounding and pounding. And finally, I went to the medical tent, and some little 5-year-old kid, maybe 7, with blonde hair, came over. He said, I can help you. He came with an ice bag, put it on my head, and it was like all I saw was this golden light. And so then I left the tent. I was fine, but so that was my real first encounter with Bhau, I think. And then later I was in Myrtle Beach. I had no idea he was there. I just showed up on one of my trips, and I was there for his last full day, I believe. And the next day he was going to the airport to fly out. And so I listened to Bhau, I think in the barn or something like that with the others. And then I think I'd rented a car on this trip. So we all, 2 other people and I, we went to the airport to see him off. And this is probably as close as I ever came to an encounter with Bhau. And everyone had said their goodbyes in the airport, and there were all these hugs and hugs and hugs and hugs. And so I was standing about at least 20 feet from him. And I knew I wanted to hug Bhau, So I looked at him and I started approaching, and it was as if at that point I had no choice. But something really weird happened. It was like I finally made it over to Bhau. It was like slow motion, It was like I didn't, and he just kept looking at me, and so I kept going. And he extended his hands, and I put my hands sort of around him. He gave me this really gentle hug, but I swear I could barely feel his body. It was as if he didn't have a body. I don't know how to describe that. Never happened with anybody else I've ever known. But anyway, and that was that. Yeah, it's really strange because I've always sort of felt I wasn't worthy of even giving Bhau a hug, but he just looked at me and was like, Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. It's a great story. He was so important to the founding of Meherabad. He was so behind that whole effort. Huge energy into that endeavor. Janet.
I wasn't going to talk, but the hug thing kind of got to me. My husband and I didn't find out about Baba until we were in our 50s. And at that time, we were taking care of his mother, and we couldn't go together. So Tom went to Myrtle Beach and met Bhau. And that was right at the time when the 3 generations of hugs or something that
if Mayor Baba had hugged you and then you could hug somebody else, but they couldn't pass it on. So Tom couldn't give me a hug. So he said, you have to have a hug from Bhau because he's getting old. And, you know, we gotta, and he was in Myrtle Beach and he was coming to Chicago. We lived in Iowa City, which is about 4 or 5 hours from there. So Tom found out somebody else in Iowa City was a Baba lover, and I got a ride with them. So it was in Evanston, just above Chicago, in a big, beautiful house with a big yard. And the couple that left me, the Lukendorfs, let me off, and they had lived in Chicago. So they said, well, no, we're gonna go be with our friends. So here you are. I'm dumped off with a bunch of Baba people. None of them, of course, I knew, but so I was kind of wandering around, and it turned out I was in this big kitchen, and a light-skinned Afro-American gal brought in a cake or something, some food. And so, you know, she put it down there. And then a little bit later, another light-skinned, darker person came in, and he was looking for tea. Well, he and I were the only ones in that huge kitchen, and neither one of us could find tea bags or a teapot or anything. So I just like, okay, then when the meeting starts that night, here is this guy, the person of honor that I was just thinking he was some Chicago person, you know. And it was kind of funny that he was, and what I remember him talking about, I don't know if he always does that, but does he call himself a potato? He was just saying, I'm a potato. And he looked like a potato, you know, and that was kind of my feeling. Then after that, I got my hug, and we went to some he did a weekend course at someplace in the middle of Illinois, at a state park. It was kind of strange. And then when we were in California, we saw him there, and that he does have that ability to just, oh, you're the only person I want to see, you know, just like he didn't know us. I mean, you know, and it's just like, oh yes, I'm so glad you're here. But the hug and the potato are the strongest things in my personal memory of Bhau, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
Beautiful. Thank you. What a great share. Miha, maybe after you're done, unless there's a burning desire, we may see about.
I just ask quickly, Janet, was it that you and Bhau were in the kitchen looking for tea? Is that right?
Yeah, it took me time to understand too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Second
and I
guy coming
didn't,
in.
you know, his skin color was just about like the last girl that had come in, so I thought he was someone else from Chicago. I had no idea who he was.
The Chicago potato. Well, what Joy shared reminded me that one time Bhauji used to give talks regularly in his office and then in his room, and once a week he used to give talks in the PC in the dining hall. So one day I was walking behind him because Joy talked about walking behind him with all the people being behind him. And one day I walked behind him when he came into the PC, and it was just amazing because Bhauji was a vessel. Bhauji was a vessel of Baba's love. And Baba just trained him to do everything that his intuition would tell him to do. And that's why he would go and walk to people. You know, Baba was guiding him to do so, and he just automatically would do so. So I was walking behind him, not exactly behind him because there were several people behind him. And I saw the people in the PC dining hall were coming towards him to say hello as he was coming into the room. And it was just magic, because everyone was shining, everyone was smiling, everyone opened up like, like a sun. And it was just so amazing to see the effect. And it wasn't Bhauji. Bhauji was not a doer. He was not a user. He was not a manipulator. He was just emanating that. He was just allowing Baba to do that. And he went with his heart. That's the only thing he did. That's the only thing that he did, was he was true to his heart. And he was true to Baba's guidance within. And that's why he could take care of all the black sheep that weren't accepted, or were not looked down upon or something, or shunned, or at the edges of the company. That was Bhauji. He would just go and just take those people and tell them, you're not black sheep, you are the sheep of Baba, and you're white. And that was so touching. So that is how I saw when I was walking behind him, not very much behind him. Always the team was very close to him, and because he was so vulnerable physically, he was so sick. He went through so many operations, so many, and some without anesthesia, that two stories, and he went through a lot medically. So this is one scene. But the other thing that I want to say, because people say, oh, he was. No, he wasn't, was. We are all eternal. We never die. Definitely not the Mandali. And I always feel, and that's what I said when at that time, Bhauji wanted to go, and he was really lamenting. He was really hurt by Baba. He was really actually hurt. Baba, you promised me that you're going to come, and I've been telling everyone that I'm going, and please come to me and see me and say goodbye to me, and be nice, and let's celebrate this, and and then so he was really hurt. And at that time, I remember in the chats, people used to say, oh, Bhauji, please stay with us, please stay with us. And one time I said, oh, Bhauji, it's so sacred when someone has how do you call it when you write I don't know the name, when you're going out, it's your time, it's sacred to go out, it's sacred, just let him go. He won't go, he'll be there. He'll just leave his body, his sick body, his sick potato body behind, his broken down furniture behind, and he will be with us. And I certainly feel that about all the Mandali. None of them left. All of them are there. All of them are available for contact, and they, just like Baba wants to be in contact with us, his host of helpers are there, and we those who are connected to anyone, especially Mera, Mani, Eruch, Bhauji, whoever, they're there. So I feel that they're all celebrating now up there in the heavenly Darbar, and enjoying all the parties that are done for him around the world, in different places, in this Zoom. In Meherabad, there was a beautiful celebration today, and probably in the RT. And so they're looking down and enjoying and celebrating, and they're not gone entities. They are. So that's how I feel about them. None of them left. All of them are here. And so when we celebrate like this, I'm sure they're peeking and enjoying. And Bhauji is enjoying the love. And Bhauji was also so much criticized, so much criticized, so much talked about. And so at least now he's enjoying the joy of of us loving him and appreciating him, and just as much as Baba does. Baba still does, you know. Baba used to say to everyone who came, "Do you love me?" And someone said, "This God, what is he asking? If we love him, is this the question God should be asking people? Do you love me?" But just as much as Baba enjoys that we love him, and we love him with the love that he has given to us, as he has opened in our hearts, and so would Bhauji enjoy the love and the remembrances. So there are other stories here, and John has more stories for sure. He has many stories and probably others, but thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Miha.
You're
Daddy?
it's not cooperating today, is it, Ruthie? Wow. I just Bhauji kind of acted.
Going, honey. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah, I think I'm okay. Really? Oh.
You are okay, Lucy. You know
That's
your
better.
voice is coming in and out, Lucy. You say something,
Yeah.
Lucy.
Yeah. Just briefly, I want to say Bhauji kind of acted as a marriage counselor, really, for my husband and I. We went in India. We were in terrible shape, and one little pointer that he gave me that I have used many times. Dave was really insecure. He didn't like the fact that we had to stay apart, and he wasn't real used to the Baba scene as I was, and so it was hard. It was really hard for him, my husband, and he would get angry and jealous, and so Bao said to me, he said, "Look, you see, if he's mad, just leave him alone. Give it time. Don't try to fix it. Just give it go, and then go and talk to him when he's feeling better." And I can't tell you how many times I've used that little bit of advice. So that was a very wise thing that Bauji said. I also remember Bauji did a prodigious amount of work. He had correspondence. It was incredible what he needed his assistance. And I think it was Joanna, Mother P, who told me that he never liked to leave anything he wanted to finish the day's work, which I've often thought of. And when I get late at night and I'm tired and I don't try and finish, but I always remember that Bauji does. I'll say, "I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow." But it was important to him to finish the day because I guess he knew he was going to have so much more to do ahead of time. I mean, the next day. So just little bits. I want to hear Ferris-Day's poem, Ferris-Day, if you're gonna.
Hey, sweetie, I will join you via, I'm leaving now from my house, but I'll try to join you via phone in a little while.
Okay, our next time, another time.
Okay. Okay, Baba.
For later, if not now.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. What do you think, Ruth?
Any burning desires? Anybody else?
John has a lot of stories.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take. Go ahead.
One thing. It was actually, I wanted to comment to Michael to say what a great. I was so admired how his son needed surgery. He got a fundraiser. I know for that to happen. I'm so impressed. You're such a good dad, Michael. You really were dedicated to David. Yeah, that's that's all. Wanted to say that.
Thank you. I'm more used to feeling like a total failure, but I appreciate that.
No, you didn't fail. Not with this one.
Well, how about I do another poem?
Sure, Ruthie. Are you? Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. A poem. Yeah.
This is another song that I wrote on my way to Darshan. I was driving through the I was driving through the Smoky Mountains, having come from Memphis. I was working for New Line Cinema, trying to get the people, universities interested in the movies that they were distributing. And I would camp most of the time to save money. And I was camped in the Smoky Mountains, and it was cold. It was I was so cold I had to get inside my car with a gas light just to get warm. And I was writing these words down. So but the funny thing about this song is that I originally wrote it to a girl, and I had her name in the song. And when I was in the last day in Guru Prasad, I was thinking, everybody's got a song for Baba, but I don't have one. And I realized that all I had to do was replace her name with Baba, because it's also 2 syllables. And I said, well, that's the story of my life. Anyway, so here's the song. Do you hear the flowers weeping in the morning? Do you see the leaves thrashing in the wind? They are sighing in the ecstasy of their lover's arms. They are reaching for the sun. Oh, can you hear them? Watch the. Do you hear the bubbling stream beside you? Do you see the droplets dancing in the sun? They are flowing ever onward until they reach the sea, and there with salty tears, they will be one. Baba, I am calling, 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 calling for you, Baba. My lips forever sing your name. Listen to the words I cannot speak. Turn them into flowers with your love. The sun shines with the brilliance of noontime. The clouds drift by like broken dreams. The mountains ring with joy as they disappear from view, and my eyes see what they have never seen before. I see love in the flowers and the trees. I see love in the people that I meet. I see love everywhere and in everything behind each separate form. I know we're one. Baba, I'm calling, 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 calling for you. Baba, my lips forever sing your name. Listen to the words I cannot speak. Turn them into flowers with your love. Do you hear the flowers weeping in the morning? Do you see the leaves thrashing in the wind? We are sighing in the ecstasy of our lover's arms. We are reaching for the sun. Oh, can you hear us? Listen to the bubbling stream beside you. Watch the droplets dancing in the sunlight. We are flowing onward until we reach the sea. And there, with salty tears, we will be one. We will be one. Baba, 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 oh Baba.
Rama. Thank
Very
you, Mike.
beautiful, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we take a moment of silence together? Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba. Avatar
Meher
Meherabad.
Baba Ki Jai.
Hey, Avatar
Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba
Ki Jai.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Wow.
Jai
Thank
Baba
you,
all.
thank you, thank you
Jai
all, thank you,
Baba.
Baba.
We have to do this more often.
Absolutely.
Yes, to have more birthdays.
No, we don't need his birthday to celebrate him.
Right.
Okay.